What's going on, everyone, and welcome back. So, might see something a little different. Uh, Decided to go ahead and pop my camera on since I will be doing Twitch at some point. So, figure might as well have it on, at least for this episode, because this episode we're just going to be messing around. Uh, well, not really messing around, but we've got a few things we need to fix, and so I figured in this episode probably do some odds and ends, get some of the stuff cleaned up because we have some work to do. And as you can tell, I went through and commented out some of this stuff already. Things that I need to do, things that I have done. Like I just did this. Um, I went ahead and created a jar. Well, created a, yeah, went ahead and exported the application, tried to run it that way, and apparently it's been broken for a little bit. And I didn't realize it because we've been working just straight out of the IDE. Uh, so, like right here, I had to add a slash, this right here, to all of these in the import from jar method. Because before it wasn't, so it wasn't even able to read it in. Plus, with the audio, I had to shorten it and make it similar to textures. Because since we're using the file extension, we don't need this extra split. So that's something that I added right before. Now I believe it's still not completely ready, but we will get to that in this episode. So after this episode, we will be working on lists, most likely, if I can get it down correctly, because I don't know exactly how I want to do it, but I've got a general idea of how I want to, so we'll see how that works out. All right, so I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and get into this. If it's something small, I'm not really gonna explain much because, well, it's probably self-explanatory, caching something or whatever. If it's something more technical, then I'll kind of explain what's going on. So one thing we do need to do is I added this comment, and I wrote it down the other day, so let's see if I can still remember. Basically, what I'm wanting to do is cache all the components so that we'll cache all the components and the variables, because we don't want to set the variables right away. I think I've explained this before, because some things may not be set yet before variables and components are actually created. I'll get to that here in a minute. Change version. What is this, like 53 or something? I still had it set to 0.1 because I have not changed the editor version since we first started it. Okay, there it is. That's the one I was looking for. So this is the jar problem. Default GUI is, let's see here. Default GUI skin I have inside of the, no. It's not inside of the resources folder. I have it inside of the project folder. Default GUI skin. I'm going to take that and put it into resources skins. All right. So that did that. Come on, what's wrong with you, computer? I'm going to go ahead and export that, try it out, see what the runnable jar feels like. It's not the one I want. I want logic. So with it not finding it and the skin not being in there, I'm thinking that is the only thing stopping us from running the jar. Java jar desktop. How to put under logic.jar. Come on. Null exception. Editor 88. Well, you don't want to load. I already had it at editor 88. Still that. Saying that the skin does not exist. Oh. Refresh. Maybe. I don't know if it automatically refreshed it before. Let's try this again. There we go. New scene wasn't loaded because it could not be found. Okay. It's just because I don't have anything in there. I'm trying to load it. Okay. So now that works. I also need to start removing the is playing stuff from the editor because we need to actually move that over to application here really soon and try to cut out as much editor stuff as we can. I don't know for sure how I'm going to do the exporting yet. I don't know if I want to do it the cheap way, which is just check to see if a certain file is inside of the jar or outside of the jar, like the checking to see if the scene files or project file or whatever is inside of the jar or outside of the jar. So if it's outside of the jar, we're in the editor. If it's inside of the jar, then we're in the game. So then just not load up the editor. So I don't know if I want to do it that way or completely strip out the editor in general. In this series, at least. Either way, it'll be done whenever I start doing Twitch stuff. But we do eventually need to do that. That is editor version. It's properties. We don't have a project thing, do we? No, we don't have a project file yet. We do need a project settings file, and that's probably what we will run it against. All right, let's see here. What else needs to be changed? Textures, font, materials, shaders, sprites, screens, audio, or skins. Scene manager. There's that. We do need to add the other asset types. Copy and paste. Say GY skin. F.set GY skin dot find. Right? Or import. What do I call it? I was just looking at that a minute ago. Get skin. GUI dot get skin. Input. Right. Do need a texture as well. Texture dot, okay, it's find as well. Do audio clip. Wait, already did audio clip. Sprite's already done. Resources, audio, font. So font. Font.get. Do we not have anything for font? I'm sure we do. Because how else would we get font? Font constructor, generate font, generate image, draw characters, create buffer, list ID, get texture. I guess there's no way of doing that. So let's do a regular find method. Let's go public list of font, find, and yeah, I want a string. And the normal. Wait, do I have an iterator, right? Yeah. So this is all stuff that we've already done before, obviously. Font instances? No, just fonts. Fonts dot size I++. I don't know why it always does that. And if fonts dot name, no, it's fonts dot get I dot name dot equals name, then return fonts dot get I. Oh, that's returning a list. I just need to return a font. So then that gets that. I just did it, oh. Of course. And I is not static. You freaking pain. Let's make it static. I don't think that'll hurt anything. There is no error. Go away. There we go. Okay, audio font, material. We need a material slot. I think it's just moving so slow because I have the camera going. Whenever I start doing live streams, I'll actually bring in the computer that I game on. Material, get. So materials do not have shader. And during the live stream, I will probably switch all of these from else ifs to like switch statements. Just so everybody knows. Figured out fine. Did the skin. Got the sprites. Got the textures. Change from logic behavior to engine.object. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. It's one of my other notes. Now the reason why we're going to do engine.object is because let's say you have a custom class, right? It's not going to derive from logic behavior. It's not going to be something that you can attach it to an object. Would you want this class for, say, for instance, you have a list of like icons or something, or an inventory system or something like that. So inside of this list or in this class, it'll just have like the sprite, the name of the sprite or something, how much that sprite is worth, like for the slot machine thing that we're going to do later. Just certain details about a specific icon, you would put it in a list. Of course, it's not going to be a logic behavior, so whenever we set the variable, we need to be able to set it. So whenever you create a custom class, you'll just derive that custom class from engine.object is how we're going to do that. So that way it can at least set the variables inside of the editor. So engine.object. And we're just going to change these from B to O. All right, so then that fixes the set variable method. So now we can at least load these up if we have them saved. We also have to have a save method, maybe? I don't know, we'll see. All right, so I'm just gonna do this below this line just so that I keep that up there. Okay. So add this to an array to be stored for this component. So first we need to, you know what, let's I'm going to just do this. That way I can keep that up there just in case I screw something up. I'll just copy this. I'll paste it down here. All right, so now I can screw with this all I want. So we're not going to add the list just yet. What we're going to do is we're just going to get it to be able to pass it over to a list and do it separately is how we're going to do it. So here, say I believe I wrote that correctly. So we're just going to be doing a while loop inside of this while loop, which is kind of dangerous, but we'll see how it turns out. Dot starts with yeah, I guess we could just do starts with. And I don't know why that period got there. Create a list right here. Say list of string info equals new array list of string. I know somebody just mentioned on the yeah, whatever. Somebody just mentioned to me about doing this, actually saying string on both sides instead of just new array list. And it's just force a habit. That needs to be dot starts with. Oh, that's why, because it popped the dot all the way over there for some reason. So we're gonna have to add a closing point for the components. Let's see here. It's resources, project, scenes. New scene. Yeah, right now we're not closing. The only thing we're closing is G, which we can actually remove the closing statement for G. Right now we just have this closing statement for G just so that it looks a little neater, so everything is more, it looks like there's a space in between each game object. So it just makes it look a little bit neater. I may just leave it there just for reading purposes. But we need to close off the C, so we actually need to write it in there. I believe I did that in editor. Render, save config, open file, save scene right here. Right component. Vector field. Okay, right here. We need to do fw dot write. We're going to. What did I do that for? To close it off. think it's just, oh, I tabbed it over twice. There. All right. So just for right now, let's go back into Scene Manager. Right here. We're going to close this code off that we just wrote. And open this code back up. Let's run it. See what happens. I would not get too carried away with following immediately with hitting play like I am, just in case there was some kind of issue. Let's make sure this is going to write good first. So it should load it up normal without the closing statement. And then we'll come in here and I'll save the scene. Let's open it back up. Maybe. So hopefully it closed that off in the scene, and if it did, then what you want to do is you want to do that for each of your scenes. Ah, crap. It just tabs over once, not twice. Okay, so I'm gonna have to remove all this. Remove that. Oops. So whenever it closes it off, is to tab over once. Close it off and drop it down. So after we get this, we'll finish up with the separation of everything. Then we'll cache some variables. I know that there's a few things that we need to actually remove, or not remove, but to clear out some of the lists. Because once we're done with a list that is cached and we don't need it anymore, then what we're going to do is just clear it out. That way it's not sitting on memory and it's not using any more memory than it has to. Awesome, there it is. And I know that you can actually go in and add this yourself, but if you have already been tinkering around with scenes, you already have a massive scene going on, then you'll want to do it this way, the way that I just did it. That way you don't have to go in and manually do it yourself. Okay, so that did that. Now back to scene manager. Alright, let's close this crap back off. Wrong one. Didn't I already create a list? Oh, it's right there. So I'm gonna say info dot add line, and then it'll just keep on doing its thing. And then remove the fee. Let me cut that out. That will go there. Just post that right there just for a second. Okay. Just put that there. And let's see here. Render. I'm gonna steal some code from over here. Or not. Where did I put it? Yeah, whatever. Oh, well. Do that. I was gonna do something else, but I don't remember where I put the code. Alright, so we're gonna get this, because what we're gonna need is a map, and then we're going to map it to, it's not a material. I'm going to use a logic behavior and a list of strings. Oh, that's why. That equals new hash map of logic behavior list of string. Import hash map. So it's basically, we're basically just doing the same thing that the renderer does. So here's our list. We go through each line that is inside of a component, and we're going to throw it inside of a list of strings. And then we're going to take that list of strings. We're going to throw it on the, let's not call it batch for one. Oh, yeah, let's just call it batch. I don't care. Batch. No, batch.put. I don't know what in the crap I was thinking. Batch.put g.add components split g. Here's b. No, b, not v. And pass in the info. So for each logic behavior, B, whatever. Oh, no, I can't do that. Behavior. Batch.keyset. String line. Let's just say it equals nothing right now. B line. List of string lines equals behavior, or wait, batch.get behavior. And we're going to say for, I don't know if we have that cached, but whatever. I is lower than lines.size, and then I plus plus. Why do you keep doing that to me? All right, so for each one, then we're going to throw this in there. And we're just going to say if, nope, if B line dot starts with V, and the separator is B line, because B could not set. All right. That should do it. Let's try it out. Watch it freaking crash my whole program. Come on. No. Line 83. Null pointer. Why is that a null pointer? That does not make any sense. Okay. Let's try this. All right, let's see if you still throw it. I don't think that would fix it, but we'll see. No. All right, give me just a moment and I will figure this out because I don't want to waste you guys any more time because we still need to do some little tedious stuff before we end this. All right, it took me a little bit, but I finally figured it out. I'm guessing whenever I'm running this, I can't run another loop on the inside. For some reason. I think C# allows you to, possibly, but I don't think Java's, at least I can't get it to do it. Or maybe it's the buffered reader, I don't know. So how I did it was this right here, added list a string, current info, and so that's normal. This else if statement. So I'm saying else if line dot starts with C, then I'm adding the component and I'm saying current info equals new array list. And here I'm saying else if it's supposed to be the end of the component. Then I'm putting the component and the info into the batch. And then I'm setting current info to null. That way we know that we shouldn't be setting any other information. So then here we say else if current info does not equal null. So if we should be just adding it to here, then we just add it to it. And then when I ran it, I had a little bit of issues. And it was because of right here. So I had set variable B and it should be set variable behavior. So then running that, it loads the scene just fine, just how we had it before. But now instead of it just being all inside of a single loop, doing it all at the same time, now it does it separately. So it'll load all of the game objects and it'll load all of the components, and then after everything is loaded, then it will set all of the values. So now we can actually have game object variables or whatever. Well, of course not right now because we still have to do the IDs and stuff before we get to that. But once we get to the IDs, then we'll be able to fully have game objects and stuff in the editor and having it save and load. Because right now we can't do that. Because even if we had it save and load or whatever, or we had the IDs, it still wouldn't work because just in case the instance has not been created yet, and that's the whole point of all this. All right, so I'll just save that off, and that is good to go. So now whenever we get to working on the list, I'm going to try to write out some comments and stuff to figure out how exactly I want to write that, because it's going to be kind of tricky to get perfect, but we will get to it. So now that all that's working, I can actually just get rid of all this commented out code. All right, what else did I need to do? I don't need any of this stuff open. Oh, that's right. Asset, oh yeah, it's right there. Asset database, and net resources. After it loads all of the resources. New texture. Oh, okay. Need to go textures.clear, fonts.clear, shaders.clear, materials.clear, sprites.clear, skins.clear, audio.clear, and scripts. Not descriptions, scripts.clear. And this is what I'm talking about, how we need to get rid of that, because after we load in the resources, then it's sitting there, never being used ever again. So clearing all that out of here, that will give us a little bit more room. Let's see here, scene manager, camera.clear, that clears all that stuff. Okay, I think that was it. So let's go into the math. I think there's some functions on vector 2 that I want to do, possibly. Oh, that's exactly what it was. The public vector 2 float v, and then say x equals v, y equals v. That way we can create a vector 2 using just a single float. So just in case two values need to be the same thing. sprite shader. I'm gonna have to skim through here. I'm looking for anything that does not cache, that should be cached. Vector 2v. It's under right component. Vector 2 drag distance. Application. All right. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a new script. Because we are going to need it in the future. And this is project settings. Now, project settings is going to hold specific information about our project. And things that it will hold are things like the previous window size. This will also hold the name of the game. So let's say public string game name equals logic game test. You can name it whatever you want. Public vector 2 oh no, let's go static. Public static or static. Let's just do static. Previous app size. Possibly previous app location. We can also do static Boolean full screen. That way we know if we're full screen or not. I'm going to set it to false automatically. And some things that we're going to need in here are public, wait, static void public static void import, and, or not public static, but static void export, or save, not export, do save and load. There we go, that's better. So then whenever we load, we will load everything and then store it in there. Let's go equals new vector 2. And anytime the application size changes, on window changed focus, on window resized, we're going to say project settings dot previous app size dot set WH. That way anytime we change the window size, then it will save it in the project settings, and one of the upcoming episodes we will actually import and export or save and load project settings so that so it does exactly what we need. What's this? Input sound audio clip. But we will get there very shortly. Oh, there we go. So here in the next few episodes, it's going to be packed full of information, and that's the whole reason why I wanted to do this episode of just kind of going around and changing things, or whatever the case may be, just so that the next couple episodes will already have a setup for it, so we can just hop right in and just slam it. Because here really soon we're gonna do the list saving and custom classes inside of the inspector, and after that we are going to hit physics, and then after physics is going to be the end of the actual YouTube series for the core engine, which will end off with actually exporting the game from the engine. So like if I run the engine, like if I go through here and I export it, and then I actually run the engine itself from right here, and I will have an export button and the file menu. So you'll hit file and then export project, which will be right down here. And then it will actually export it as a game instead of exporting it as, or with, or including, or whatever we're going to do with the engine. So none of the engine stuff is going to show up. It'll be just strictly the game. So just like any other actual game engine editor. So I've already got all that ready to go. I've got the notes coming in. I've got some written down upstairs. So it's going to be really good. So we've only got maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 episodes maybe left. And then I will go on to Twitch. But those Twitch videos will also be posted on YouTube as well. But they will not be under this this whatever list of videos. So you'll just have to go through there if you're still wanting to follow along, because the core engine is already going to be done. What I'm going to be doing in those Twitch videos is basically just upgrading it and making more features and all this other crap. So yeah. All right, well, I've already spent over an hour of dicking around, so I will see you guys next week. All right, later, guys.